We have some breaking news now. Donald Trump says everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. In a post on Truth Social, the US president says, Iran should have signed the deal I told them to sign. What a shame and a waste of human life. Simply stated, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I said it over and over again. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. And the President, Donald Trump, is in Canada at the moment for the G7, and he says he does not intend to sign a joint statement calling for de-escalation between Israel and Iran. So there's some latest developments there.
So a potential diplomatic off-ramp there. And just moments ago, the Secretary of Defence, Pete Hegseth, also saying that military capabilities are being moved in to the Middle East region to put a new defence posture in place. But certainly the concern here is that this will escalate into a wider war, Jane.
Lauren, thank you.
The White House and Secretary of State Marco Rubio reshared the president's message on social media. Tehran, again, home to over 9 million people. So, of course, this is breaking news, and this makes you think that another attack from Israel may be imminent on that very large city. The city of Phoenix, about 5 million, something like that. So it's about twice the size of Phoenix.
Have you heard any signals or seen any messages from intermediaries that Iran wishes to de-escalate the conflict?
Yeah.
What have you heard? What have you heard from the Iranians?
They'd like to talk, but they should have done that before. I had 60 days, and they had 60 days, and on the 61st day I said, we don't have a deal. They have to make a deal, and it's painful for both parties, but I'd say Iran is not winning this war, and they should talk, and they should talk immediately before it's too late.
And what would you say, in your opinion, what would it take for the U.S. to get involved in this conflict militarily?
I don't want to talk about it.
I think we've got to realise that what we are already seeing is a world war, World War III. It's not a war in Ukraine over there, a war with Israel over here, and then, China's threatened war against Taiwan over there, all separate. And that's another reason why Israel's war with Iran is so dangerous. As I've said for a couple of years, there is a new alliance of tyrannies. Russia, China, Iran and North Korea all working together, helping each other out with their wars, sending weapons, diplomatic cover, and with their planned wars too. Iran, for instance, supplies Russia with kamikaze drones for its war in Ukraine. And China and Russia are backing Iran diplomatically. Last week voted against that International Atomic Energy Agency resolution condemning Iran's nuclear weapons program. And right now we are seeing how a war in the Middle East can help China. America has been forced to move the aircraft carrier Nimitz and its supporting warships from the Pacific, where they're patrolling near China. It now seems on its way to the Middle East to support Israel, which would leave China, of course, freer to attack Taiwan. I'm not tipping that yet. It's far too early, I think, for China to do that.
This is Natanz here, just to the east and south of it. This is an aerial picture, General, okay, of Natanz and what it was before. You've got buildings and structures here, and buildings here. That's pre-war. Now you've got complete devastation in Natanz here, this building located here, as well as this one in the upper right-hand corner. Natanz is very different from what this site that you're describing. Firdow is a half-mile buried inside of a mountain. And you believe the United States has no choice but to get involved with the Iranians? Explain that, sir.
Well, it's in the United States core national interest that Iran does not have a nuclear capability and get to it. That's a fact. And this capability, if we leave it there, the Ayatollah will recover and rebuild. And that's what he's absolutely counting on. That's why he never was willing to dismantle the program himself with verification. That would end his program. Here he believes he has a chance. And that's what these guys are all about. And we've got to finish what we started here. We can't look like we haven't come to the assistance of the Israelis when they needed it the most here to finish this operation. They are our strongest ally in the region. What do you think the Arabs would think after the president's visit there, looking at this and they're saying, my, if the United States isn't going to help the Israelis at this critical time, what's the chance they're going to help us? And does this motivate Putin a little bit more to stay the course in terms of what he's doing, and President Xi, if we don't help the Israelis finish this off. It's their operation. We would lend a support to it to finish it off. And that's what I'm suggesting, and I'm certain the president is making those considerations.
Jack Keane, General, thank you. Appreciate the analysis, and we'll speak again later today. Thank you, Jack.
But this is how this alliance can work. Always stretching the West, which is already desperately undergunned. Its weapon stocks are very low after supplying Ukraine for 3 years. And all those Australian ministers saying, oh, we just need to negotiate. They don't realise our enemies operate under different moral rules. Honestly. I mean, you know, like I said, some actually believe that until, you know, the lost Mahdi returns, Islam will not be reformed, and that can't happen until Israel is destroyed. And they chant war cries in Parliament like this. And I just got to clear up one thing in my argument with Steve Conroy, who said Trump's response, just negotiate, is exactly like Penny Wong's. I want to read that tweet I referred to now that I have it, or a Truth Social post, where Trump said there's already been great death and destruction, but there is still time to make this slaughter with the next already planned attacks on Iranian means being even more brutal come to an end. Iran must make a deal before there is nothing left and save what was once known as the Iranian Empire. No more death, no more destruction. Just do it before it is too late. Can you tell me where Penny Wong, Anthony Albanese, Richard Marles issued any threat like that? Joining me is the country's top foreign affairs writer, Greg Sheridan of the Australian newspaper. Greg, great to see you. Where is this conflict going?
Well, great to be with you, Andrew. So I must say I absolutely endorse your proposition that the conflicts in Ukraine, Taiwan and Iran are all related and in a sense part of the same conflict. Israel still has at least some days and perhaps more than that to go in trying to destroy key Iranian nuclear, military and now economic targets. The $64 million question is whether Israel can hit the nuclear facility in Fordo without American help. The bunker buster bomb can only be carried by an American aircraft. And, you know, Trump is better than Biden. Biden wouldn't have allowed Israel to do this. But the Israelis very much wanted the Americans to help them because they have so much more powerful an air force. What we are seeing is two terrible trends in the contemporary world. I mean, we're seeing 1,000 terrible trends, but we're seeing nuclear weapons roar back into the centre of all strategic calculations, and we're seeing the breakdown of American extended nuclear deterrence. All American allies except Israel and Britain and France don't have nuclear weapons of their own, which means we all shelter under extended American nuclear deterrence. That means if a nuclear weapon state struck us with a nuclear weapon, America would strike them with a nuclear weapon. But if more semi-rogue states like North Korea and Iran get nuclear weapons, not only are they then impossible to deter within their own region, because if you're taking serious military action against them, they'll threaten nuclear weapons against you. But the development of missile technology means that North Korea and Iran will soon be able to hit the United States itself with missiles. That means if North Korea is having a confrontation with South Korea and America intervenes, North Korea can threaten Los Angeles and San Francisco with nuclear annihilation. And if Iran gets the nuclear bomb, it will also be able to do that. And we know that China proliferated nuclear technology to Pakistan and to Iran precisely to hurt India and to hurt America. All this proliferation ultimately comes from China and some of it from North Korea, you know, from China through North Korea. And it would be a diabolical strategic development for the world if Iran gets nuclear weapons. And if it does, then quite sensibly, probably Saudi Arabia and other nations in the Middle East would also want nuclear weapons to provide for their own security. And a world in which we go from sort of 7 or 8 nuclear weapon states to maybe 10 or 12 or 15 is 1,000 times more dangerous.
particularly when one of those countries is led by what we would consider irrational leadership with religious motivations, end of the world type of motivations that are, different moral paradigm completely that we cannot talk them out of.